Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast, and we love for you to be a part of it. It's easy to do. You can actually, if you're listening on the iHeartRadio app, click the talkback mic and send us a message that way. You can record a message on your phone and it comes right to us. Or if you don't, if that's not how you're listening, record us, what do they call it, a memo, a voice memo.
Oh, yeah.
And you can email us that at msj@msjshow.com.
Earlier today, Jodi, you were in one of the 3 things to know. You mentioned something about solo dining, and I was so happy to hear it. I just want to share it with everyone just to make sure everybody gets to hear this.
Yeah.
That solo dining is up about 30% nationwide.
According to Open Table.
According to Open Table, yeah. And I think it's great because one of the things that helps do is to remove the stigma or that feeling of being the lone person when you go eat by yourself, and the reason I bring it up is because
You're a lone diner.
I'm a loser eater too. I go eat a lot by myself.
You're going to make the stigma.
But you know what's funny about that
back.
is I don't know. I mean, I remember when I would go to lunch sometimes it would feel a little awkward. I don't know that there's as much of a stigma today.
There's not.
The 30% increase is probably no more than people's lives are busy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so if people's lives are busy, and it's just you, the fastest thing is to go pick up a bite to eat versus trying to create a whole meal at home, right?
They say a couple of things are at play. People are working from home more and they're alone more, and it's not a big deal to them anymore, where they used to be with people in offices more, and so going to dine seemed odd.
That makes sense.
Alone. And then the other thing was that we never really feel like we're alone anymore with these devices that we have all the time.
Yeah, and also, too, I found that, in looking into this, that a lot of restaurants are now starting to adapt the layout of the restaurant and also the serving, the way their wait staff works to gear towards solo people. Because they say they notice that, if you're eating there solo, you might want to be left alone. You might want to be, because you get away during the lunch hour and you want to concentrate on some big project. They're being trained to watch those people, solo eaters, and leave them alone more because maybe they got stuff to do. And restaurants are actually setting up more solo tables. Or there's one I read about in San Francisco that they don't have any tables. It's just a bar around the restaurant, and not a bar for drinking, a bar for eating. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that therefore
you can eat solo there easily.
It gears itself towards solo eating. You don't walk in and go, hey, look, everybody's solo eating. Or
if you've never done it before, highly recommend. The most recent memory I have of eating solo, you and I, Murphy, we have lunch together almost every Tuesday. We have a standing date for lunch every Tuesday, and we normally go to the same place, a Greek restaurant, bistro type place. And you, at the last minute, I was looking forward to it. When you think you're going to have something for lunch, I was looking forward to that salad and something, I think the shrimp or whatever. And at the last minute, you were like, oh, I've got this meeting, and you had to go do something else. And I was like, I wanted Greek. So I just went and did it anyway, just me. And our waiter, his name is David, he's like, is Murphy not joining you today? I said, not today, he's not. So I'm going to sit outside. And I like to sit outside in the covered. And I did that, and it was so peaceful. Having lunch is already a break from your routine. Having a meal is already a break in whatever it is that you do. But to have it where there was no conversation, where I was just listening to birds chirp or whatever, was fantastic. I did have to resist the urge to just go into my phone.
Yeah.
But I did. I just enjoyed the weather and the food.
But see, if you had a book that you were reading on your phone, there's a time for you to eat and read. And another thing is, I found that when I've done this alone, eating alone, I eat slower.
Oh, really?
I don't feel like I'm eating and conversing, and everybody else is going fast and I'm too slow. It's part of it with me being a foodie is I also want to enjoy the meal. And if you eat slower, you do. You're going to savor what you're eating, and you're more likely, if you're going alone, since you don't have to rely on the party. It's like, hey, where do you want to go eat?
Oh, it's always your decision.
It's your decision. So the way that works to your advantage is, say there is, like you just said, a Greek restaurant, and you're going with family members, and nobody likes Greek. Okay, well then let's go to the pizza place.
Right.
You pick it. It's your decision.
Yes.
It's all on you. Not only that, when you get there in the menu, there's that dish that you've always wanted to try, but nobody else wants to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your chance to be adventurous.
Totally.
And see.
Yeah.
And one of the things you were saying, too, about, y'all have your date every Tuesday.
We
you
do.
make a date.
We look forward to it.
It's not anything I talk about, but I have a date with myself every weekend.
Oh, awesome. Wait, for the
that's cool.
breakfast.
No, anything.
Oh, I know that you
just,
sometimes do breakfast.
One meal on the weekend is going to be me going somewhere, and it's like an effort to get out of the house and go somewhere. A lot of the times, if I read about a new restaurant in town, it's like, oh, let me go try that.
Put
or
it on
put
your
that
list.
on the list. And I went to a barbecue place a few weeks ago.
Oh, yes.
Glad I did. I went to a chicken place that you guys saw next to the Italian place you went at.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Sorry I went there, but,
You didn't know until
You tried it.
I didn't bring 5 people and we all had a ruined meal. I went, didn't like it. Next, move on. That's
Yeah.
all it is. So, and one of the little things it lets you do too, and I've noticed this, is it improves your decision-making ability.
because.
Who are you going to ask?
Oh,
I know you
well,
can.
you can ask the wait
waiter,
staff.
yeah, and say, "Hey, what do you recommend?" But if you're looking at the menu, it's not. "Ooh, let's try it." It's you. It's your gig.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It sounds, lovely and peaceful. Although on the flip side of that, I will say this, and Murphy will jump right in because I know you've said this over the years. One of the favorite things that we do together is just go have, especially when it's impromptu.
Mm-hmm.
I had a long day. I don't feel like cooking. And he's like, great, let's go. Let's go grab a bite somewhere. And it's not like it's fancy or expensive, but just to do that on impromptu together is nice. And that's when we catch up. I know it
Yeah.
seems like we spend a lot of time together, and we do spend a lot of time together. But, he and I do have, aside from the
lives.
show, we have separate lives. So it's a chance for us to sometimes come together and talk about things that are going on with the kids,
Yeah.
plans for the house, plans for, hey, we need to have this painting, we need painting done in the house. Like sometimes we will have a meal and we will do important family planning, but it's nice when we can go out to eat to do that.
Yeah. And what's odd for me and you, Jodi, I think, or odd because we work together and are married, is a meal is a very casual experience for us. We're not in a work environment together, so it just changes the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the sharing a meal to me with anybody, it's like anything. What you're talking about, the solo meal is great, but it's everything in balance. It's not one or the other. I enjoy the
Yes.
solo meals,
Mm-hmm.
but I equally enjoy, having a meal with friends and catching up over a meal. It just goes together. That's probably why you see it portrayed that way in movies, magazines, and everywhere else. It's just a great place to share, and plus, if it's a really good experience, it becomes a shared experience
Yeah.
that you remember.
Yes, when it's a really
Yeah.
good experience. True. That's
Right.
one thing they say about, families. When your children are young, try to have as many meals with them as possible.
Yeah.
Or when they're older and they come. That's why you like to cook for your kids when they come over. You cannot wait to cook for
yeah.
Maddie and whatnot. And when everybody comes to serve food. Yeah, it is something. It's both, because I will say, as many meals as we've shared together and will share, Murphy, when you are at a meeting or you're out of town or you're doing one of your weekend things, it's one thing that I wasn't thinking about it ahead of time, but like the last time you went on your weekend retreat, Friday afternoon hit and you were gone, and that was one of the things I was like, oh, I get to pick what I want to eat for every meal
Yeah.
now. That's not just where I'm considering you, because I'm the one that cooks in the house
Yeah, that's
or
true.
plans,
Yeah.
does the meal planning. So it's like, ooh. So I went, of course, I went to the grocery store and got a bunch of stuff for a big salad. That's something I really wanted. But I think I picked up something too the next day, like something maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know, takeout, some sort of takeout.
And another thing, with the solo dining, it can be, depending on the restaurant, it can be communal, because you do have restaurants that still exist that sit you at like a communal table or a Lazy Susan table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sammy, my oldest, when he went over to the Netherlands and all that,
Yes.
he wound up sitting at a bunch of those where you go in solo, but it's like here, that's your chair at the table of
The
10.
family
And-
style eating places.
Yeah, or you make friends with people you never knew. I thought I was going to have that at one of the pizza places this summer,
Okay.
because I was like, just one. And when they walked me in, they sat me at one of those benches, like both sides could fit 4 people.
Yes.
And I was the only one there.
Oh.
And that I felt bad about. It's like, couldn't you
Yeah.
just give me a table and put a family here, or sit a family with me or something? But
Yeah.
whatever.
But, sitting at the bar whenever the retreat that Jodi was talking about, when I was coming back from that one, there was going to be one more lunch I was going to grab on the way back. It was a hamburger place that I just wanted to try, kind of this 50s retro diner style place.
Cool.
And it was packed, and they asked me where I wanted to be seated. Well, I wanted to actually be seated at the bar where they were making the milkshakes and all that stuff. And it's the same kind of thing. I can choose to visit, or I don't have to. But that's the nice thing about that arrangement that you were talking about, where if you sit at the bar where everybody is, it can be a communal kind of social experience.
Because you're like 2 inches away from the next person.
Yeah.
I went and speaking of the breakfast, I had a breakfast a couple weekends ago, and it was me at the bar. And, I was taking pictures with my phone of, fancy
food.
pictures of the cup and the mug and the fork.
Yeah.
And my waitress, oh, that's cool. You do, I do that too. And it was like, that was a 10-minute conversation about
That's nice.
taking random pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, even though you're solo, you're open to hanging out with people.
Yeah.
I think everything in balance for me. I like that a lot. I do like to dine solo, but I do like to catch up and make it a thing with anybody that's in my life. I love to do that too. But if you're listening to this and you've never gone to a restaurant, asked for a table and been seated by yourself, you should do it.
Yeah, they're not. It's becoming more. Everybody's doing it. Like I said, 30% increase. So don't think that they're going to look at you and go, oh, here comes somebody by themselves.
Yes.
They're
Spend
waiting
some
for
time with you.
Yeah.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.